So without further ado, here's Mike.
Well, thank you very much for the introduction and for having me down here to say a few words to you all. I'll try and be brief. For those of you who know me, you know that's not something I do well, but we'll try. I was told 15 minutes, so I'll try to keep it to that. You know, I have to say, it struck me as I was driving down here today from Ottawa, listening to the inauguration on radio and various things. I thought, here I am coming to Toronto, where you folks had to put up with years of merciless ridicule from the American media of your ridiculous former mayor. Well, I guess it's payback time now. And again, when Trump first announced that he was running, I thought about, I didn't do this, but I thought about writing a very tongue-in-cheek endorsement of Mr. Trump. Because if you think about it, all of these things that Comrade just listed off here, he's really the con man, a racist, a bigot, who spent most of his life cheating workers. He really actually makes a good representative of the American capitalist system. And I know the topic of a town hall tonight is how to keep Trump-style politics out of Canada, and I'm going to get to that in a moment. But I think it's important that we take stock of what's actually happened over the last year in the country to the south of us with this election campaign. Because the rise of Donald Trump isn't the only story of this election campaign. There were actually a whole bunch of fundamental shifts I think, in American politics that will, frankly, can't be undone. I mean, I think if 2 years ago, any of us in here were to say that today millions of Democrats across the U.S. would be saying, oh man, if only we had put in the socialist, we would have won. People would have thought that would be ludicrous, right? But here we are today, and I think you can say that politics in the United States has been fundamentally changed, fundamentally altered. Here you have the rise of forces of socialism in places where people really thought it wasn't possible. You saw the Bernie Sanders campaign, which brought millions of young people into political life for the first time. Millions of people who heard his cry, heard him saying, we're going to finally stop this and fight and take on the billionaire class. And millions of young people across the United States said, you know what? This system isn't working for us, and we can change it. And that in itself is a huge step forward for things. But what we've really seen is polarization. And it's a result of an absolute frustration with the status quo. So polarization to the left and to the right. Why did Trump win? Because he was challenging the elites, at least in words. Because he, as Michael Moore said, he walked into the big automaker's boardroom and said, if you move these jobs to Mexico, we're going to put a 35% tax on everything that comes into your country, every car you sell in this country. And as Michael Moore put it, no politician had ever talked to them like that. And so you can see why this might have an appeal to an awful lot of people. You can see how people throughout the Rust Belt, where jobs have been destroyed, where communities have been destroyed, where factories have shut down, where hundreds of thousands of people have been thrown out of work and thrown into poverty, you can see why that would connect with people. Now, I think if anybody actually believed that Donald Trump was going to take on the billionaires, that Donald Trump was going to take on the big corporations, I think all you have to do is look at the cabinet he's appointed, right? He said he's going to drain the swamp. He's got 3 billionaires and 5 former CEOs in his cabinet. Some of the most rich and powerful people on the planet are behind this administration. So much for taking on the elites. But I think we kind of expected that. And the truth of the matter is, we don't really know what Trump is going to do, because from day to day, there's no consistency. He'll say one thing one day, another thing another day, and has for his entire life. So in some ways, it's trying to pin down what's real and what isn't. You know, what's fake to try and get elected, and what's he actually planning to do? Is he really going to build a wall and deport millions of people? Maybe, maybe not. We don't know. He sure campaigned on it. But I think when you look to the immigrant communities that Trump is threatening, even without any actions, these threats are very real to a lot of people. And I've heard a lot of folks say, we should wait and see what he does. Let's just give him a chance, wait and see what he does. Well, I can tell you what he's already done. What he's already done is fan the flames of racism across the United States, bring bigotry on frankly, an unprecedented level into the White House, bring people with links to white nationalism into the White House. I can tell you by what he's already done that this man is going to be a very big problem for anybody who wants progress. So how did it happen? Why did he get there? That's the fundamental question. If we're trying to answer how we can tackle and stop Trump politics in Canada, we first need to understand how this happened, how he came to power. And I think his election is a pretty good snapshot of the mood in the United States. Millions and millions of people are frustrated, have been beat down, have watched their communities be ripped apart, their jobs been torn away. And all of that frustration, all of that anger had to find an outlet. And the reality was, there was no outlet on the left. It became an election between the status quo and somebody who said he was going to take on the elites and do things differently. And so that's why we ended up where we are. Now, I firmly believe that had Sanders been the nomination, he'd probably be the president right now. But, speculative history isn't going to help us. But I can tell you that the main reason Donald Trump was able to take a hold of all of this frustration, all of this anger that had built up in society, is precisely because people like us weren't organized enough to provide a real socialist alternative to these policies. Had there been such a campaign, such an organization to go up against Trump, I think we can reasonably say that he wouldn't be the president of the United States right now. And so ultimately, when we're talking about keeping Trump politics out of Canada, the only way that we're going to do it, the only way, is to build a radical left organization that can put socialism on the agenda in this country and give a real alternative to all of those millions of people in this country who have watched their communities be destroyed, who have watched their jobs be ripped away, who have watched the cost of education go through the roof, watched their public services be slowly privatized and dismantled. If we don't organize to provide that alternative, a progressive voice, an answer to this question, to give people some hope that they can change society, that they can change this system and build something fundamentally better, if we don't do that, there will be the rise of Trump-style politics in this country. because all of those same frustrations, all of those same angers, which ultimately flow out of this free market system, which is slowly killing off our planet. If we don't have a viable alternative to this, the Donald Trumps of the world will gain an echo here. And we're starting to see it. We're starting to see it leak into the Conservative leadership campaign. We've seen Kelly Leach throw out all sorts of, racist dog whistles, to be honest, talking about these Canadian values tests and so on. Very similar. She's trying to tap into the same vein that Trump had going. Doesn't seem to be working so well for her. On the other side, you've got Kevin O'Leary, who's very similar in outlook, very similar in, well, frankly, style, approach, and just about anything. You have another multi-millionaire reality TV show host who's all flash, very little substance, according to the people who know him. We haven't heard the sort of racist elements out of him yet. Maybe we will, maybe we don't. We won't, we don't know. But you can see that O'Leary is very much trying to tap into that same vein. It wasn't so long ago that he was on CBC television saying if he was ever made prime minister, he would make trade unions illegal in this country, and any union member that kept their union card would be thrown in prison. So these are the kind of forces that we're dealing with. Now, again, I don't know if Mr. O'Leary is serious about that or not. And I don't know if he's going to win the leadership of the Conservative Party. But I do say this. If you think you can smash our unions and throw us in prison, you're in for a rude awakening. I say bring it on. We'll take you on. Fundamentally, the power that working people have in this country and in any country is the same. It's that we do the work. The old saying is that not a wheel will turn and not a light bulb will shine without the consent of the working class. We heard talk about using unity to challenge Trump politics. Well, what that looks like in action, unity in action, workers on strike, workers walking out, students on strike, students walking out, these sorts of mass movements that can fundamentally disrupt the economic life of this country are the only way to challenge these kinds of policies. So, as I said, I'm running out of time. I've tried to be brief. We don't know where things are going in the Tory leadership race, but we know there are certainly some people who are trying to bring the same veins into that party. Certainly, Trump-style right-wing populism is a real threat in this country. And it's a real threat precisely because there are so many people who have been so screwed over for so long with so few people pointing the way forward. So, sisters and brothers, I'll leave it with a final call to you. If you're not already active in the socialist movement, if you're not already out there trying to fight against the capitalist system, trying to fight for a more fundamentally democratic economy, for a better socio-economic system where we can actually live in harmony with the planet and with the people on it, please get involved. Join that fight. This is the only way we're going to be able to stop this kind of stuff here. We have to get organized and we have to mobilize. So let's do it.
Thank you, Mike.